Mainstream Mental Health Radio with Dr. John Huber.
What do you think you are, crazy or something? Well, you're not.
We're on a mission from God.
News, issues revolving around mental health. Dr. John Huber, a mental health professional for over 20 years, the chairman for Mainstream Mental Health, a clinical forensic psychologist, and a psychology professor at Texas State University. Breaking the silence of mental health, one day at a time, discussing the human condition, providing a sounding board for mental health issues, and making mental health mainstream.
You got a gift, my friend.
Now it's time for Mainstream Mental Health Radio.
Let the healing begin.
With Dr. John Huber.
Mainstream Mental Health Radio Show. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm your host, Dr. John Huber. Thanks for listening. We really do appreciate it. Now, we have another awesome show lined up for you today. Remember, check out our website at mainstreammentalhealth.org. And let your friends know about our show. You can listen to our podcast on iTunes at blogtalkradio.com, Mainstream Mental Health. We're going to look at a few news stories today. There's been a lot of activity in the past week since we talked last. We've switched over from worrying about Russia to worrying about statues and how they're harming everybody. So, right off the bat, what are the real concerns of parents about our kids? You know, are we concerned about what's going on in the media right now? And the truth is, actually, there's some health concerns we're worried about. University of Michigan once a year goes through and does some research, and then they publish this. And the results, basically, it's the C.S. Mott Children's Hospital National Poll on Children's Health. And they go and look at adult perceptions of what is the real health issues, what are the real health issues facing U.S. children and teens. And looking at this year's poll, we've identified which health issues are most commonly rated as a big problem. Now, they look at parents, and then they also ask adults who don't have kids. And the number of items they post is 10, and they're not in any real order, except we know that right now the numbers say that bullying and cyberbullying is the most significant thing they have to worry about. The next thing, which is actually very close and probably my big one, the one that I would be more concerned about, is not exercising. Then we move to unhealthy eating, to drug abuse, internet safety, child abuse and neglect, suicide rates, depression for teens and children, teen pregnancy, and stress. And if we look at a few of these, you know, we got a few things that the parents involved in this could fix or deal with on a regular basis. Let's look at not enough exercise. Kids, you can't be on your electronics if you're not giving out some physical activity. That's a quid pro quo. Parents, make your kids go play basketball, let them ride their bikes, play baseball, run in the creeks, whatever you got available for them. The second one is unhealthy eating. Parents, don't buy the junk food. Drug abuse, internet safety, those things. Parents, you need to know what your kids are doing. I mean, and that's about the most significant thing you can do to affect both of those things. Then you move to child abuse and neglect. Again, I think that falls on the parents, being aware and knowing what they're doing. Right now, there's so much involvement in social media. Actually, teen pregnancy is at a low right now, but that's probably why it's at the end of the list. Anyway, there's a lot of things in here. We can do a lot of different things to prepare for them, and I think a majority of these roll back into the parents' responsibility. We know that parents can't do everything, but you gotta make the effort. And if you make the effort, I think you're going to be happy with the outcome. All right. What about not being popular and our teenagers? Is that a significant issue? Well, it could be, but the issues, according to teenvogue.com, are that they're problematic when they're teenagers, but when they're adults, it's actually a positive thing. It appears that if you're the kind of person who has a few close friends, you might feel envious of other people when you're a teenager. And envious primarily of those who seem to effortlessly maintain friendships with basically everyone. It might seem like they're always having fun while you're left in the fringes. Research shows that in the long run, you might be better off with just a few of those friends. According to the study, people who have a few close friends in their teen years as opposed to having many friends but fewer close relationships benefit long term. If you have a small but tight-knit friend group, when you're 15, researchers found that when you're 25, you're likely to have a higher level of self-worth, fewer mental health problems like anxiety and depression. On the other hand, people who are more popular at age 15 are more likely to experience social anxiety at 25 as well. So over a period of 10 years, researchers followed 169 teens having varying backgrounds starting at age 15, and they checked in with these young people each year, asking about friendships, feelings, anxiety, social acceptance, self-worth, symptoms of depression. At the end of the 10 years, the researchers determined that those who had just a few close friends had less social anxiety, more self-worth, and fewer symptoms of depression. Ultimately, the research the study suggests that prioritizing close friends when you're young could result in better mental health later on. I'm looking at this as a psychologist, and I think this may also predict that they're getting better experience picking friends and choosing friends, and so it may help them when they get off into adulthood to be able to make better quality decisions about who your friends are going to be as an adult. So remember that basically not being popular might be a good thing for you. So if you're out there an adolescent and you're upset because you're not, prom queen or prom king, there's hope for you, and it looks like you may be better off. So one of the other concepts or topics in the news that I want to talk about is this idea about mental health exams. Now, if you're going to be a police officer, you have to have a mental health exam, at least in our state. And if you just want to have a license to be able to be a security guard in Texas, you have to have a psychologist sign off and say that you're at least in general, normal well-being. You don't have any extremes in personality. You don't have any severe mental health issues that are problematic. The question is, and this article brings it up, should lawyers have mental health and financial examinations? Now, requiring lawyers to undergo mental health and financial examinations would be extremely costly and time-consuming. This was published in AboveTheLaw.com, and the question is, should lawyers have mental health and financial examinations? It's common knowledge that practicing law is very stressful. If you don't know that, you probably will be involved in some kind of litigation at some point in your life, and you will find out exactly how stressful it can be. And it's not a lot of fun. In fact, lawyers, because of this pressure, suffer mental health issues such as burnout, depression, anxiety, anger issues. They start becoming obsessive compulsive and have actually diagnoses of excessive compulsive disorder. And these are just a few of the problems that happen. Now, I do a lot of forensic work, and it is stressful. At the same time, I try very diligently to make relationships with attorneys and follow up and continue with those attorneys based on a lot of things, and one of the things I look for is that they're not trying to manipulate me. They want me to really do my job as a psychologist and give that information to them. And then I want to see how they interact with their clients and where their priorities are. And it's really nice to see that the attorneys who call me in the first place, the majority of them are doing really good work with using mental health in the courtroom. And some of them have stress issues, and I've made referrals to some of them, and they're actively seeing therapists and working on keeping themselves healthy. And I think that benefits them, that benefits their clients. How often then, if we're going to do this, should our attorneys have to take this? Should we have to do it every 5 years, every 10 years, every other year? Can the state bar be ordered, or can they order attorneys to go and do this? This is a difficult situation, and I think the Justice Department, or the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division, should actually look into this. All right, I'd like to remind everybody you're listening to Mainstream Mental Health Radio Show. My name is Dr. John Huber, and I have an amazing guest on. I'd like to call him my friend. I think we've shared enough and talked enough that I feel comfortable doing that. But he has an experience that not many of us get to do publicly, and I think he's handling it really well. I'd like to welcome today Daniel French. He's host of WCGO Radio on French and Friends. Daniel, welcome to the program.
Hey, my friend indeed. I feel great to be called that. Thank you so much. I'm fine. You, doctor?
I'm amazing. Thank you.
Good.
Well, you got some interesting news, and we talked about it just briefly yesterday. Why don't you kind of catch your story up? Because not all of my listeners are in the Chicago area. So. Sure.
About, I don't know, I want to say 6 weeks ago now, I received an email from a lady named Lisa, and it seemed out of bounds, my friend. It was, hi, I think I may be your sister, which immediately I'm like, okay. I scanned down looking for the part where they're asking me, or where she's asking me, for my bank account and routing number. Somebody's sick, I need the help, and it was okay. Sure, I've got a sister, right? No, I don't think so, lady, because I'm the eldest. Yeah, I'm the eldest of 3 boys. And it was. Then I read it again, John, and I was like, wait a minute. This person has it together. They're actually. I've been scammed before, not scammed successfully, but people have tried to scam me, for voiceover talent work, this, that, and the other. And usually these things fall apart in the first few sentences. I read this thing again. I said, wow, this is really earnest. This person they are really truly looking for their birth father. And she explained to me how she thought it happened. And she said, I think that when your father was about 19, my mom, my birth mother, had a dalliance somewhere down in Florida. And she named the area where my dad grew up. And she said her mom was really young, like had just fled Birmingham, Alabama, I think 16, 17 years old, something. She said, my birth mother, met a guy, and I'm telling you, it was your father, and we're related. And my initial reaction was, this is great. I'm sure maybe it's nothing, but what if it really could be? And I just kind of, as I usually would do with something like this, I said, okay, if it's a scammer, I'm going to have fun with them. If it's real, I'm going to have even more fun with them. So I shot back an email just flippantly. I was in the middle of work. I said, Sure, sis, hold on. I'm in the middle of some work. Give me a minute to digest everything that you've sent me. And I started reading. I found her on Facebook, and she seemed like a real person. And I'm still thinking, John, where's the angle? What is this?
Right.
And I go to bed, and I can't sleep for an hour or two later than after I wanted to go to bed, and I'm thinking, where's the con in this? Because if she's going after my dad, she really should pick a target with deeper pockets. It's not like he's broke. I mean, he does okay. He lives in Costa Rica, right. But I'm telling you, it's like check to check with Social Security. He's got it down to the penny, to make the dream unfold with barely keeping his nose above water. I respect him. He retired at a pretty young age. And I called my dad, and immediately he says, he heard Facebook. He says, scam. Well, in that email, this lady named Lisa had contacted a cousin of mine, and I called her. And she said, well, Daniel, I talked to her, and she seems really sincere that she's looking for a birth father. And so I said, all right. I emailed this guy. I said, tell me everything you've got. Show me everything you've got. And she starts producing documents. She had submitted a DNA test. somehow found a member. Apparently there's a whole group out there, and I get it, if you're looking and you're trying to tie up loose ends or, link branches of your family tree. And so people will submit DNA in a quest to fill in those holes from the history books, just to figure out who's who. So I guess the long story short is, as I talked to this lady more, as she filled in the blanks, explained her situation to me, one really hit home. She is a birth order or birth family, whatever you call it, a DNA and ancestry researcher. And that's her job. And she told me she found her birth mother about 15 years ago, a few months after her adopted mother died. And she said her reaction was, when her adopted mother died, another mother has abandoned me. And she said it was the most hollow feeling I could ever imagine. Like I was alone in the universe, just spinning. Mm-hmm. So she went out on this quest, and she learned how to track people down using the archives, using any sort of document you could get your hand on. And she completely dedicated her life to figuring out how to help other people figure out where their birth parents are. That's her job. And in the whole time in the background, she was trying to find who her birth parents were. Well, she found her birth mother, connected with her birth mother. Her mother filled in all kinds of things, but, gave her details, and then got to the point where she didn't want to have contact anymore for whatever reason. It was disrupting her current life. She had given up this child, Lisa. Her birth name was something else when she was a few months old because she just couldn't handle it at her young age. Mm-hmm. Now, this is all pre-Roe versus Wade, That wasn't an option. Right. She was kicked out of her this is the birth mother now, kicked out of her family's home in Alabama, ended up out west, gave birth, fabricated a birth father's name because she only had my dad's first name, had no idea who it was. Okay, and I think you and your listeners, you definitely know, your listeners may know where this is going. My father, ultimately, I said, Dad, look, I'm really not trying to upset you. I don't want to upset you, but I really just wish you would listen to this lady. This lady is asking me to submit a DNA sample, and I don't want to do it. I don't mind doing it because I believe her story that she's really looking. And if she's wrong, she's wrong, but this is somebody who has a void in her soul that I would like to help fill if I can. But it would mean more to me and to her if you could do it because you're link number one. Mm-hmm. So after a lot of talking from me and going back and forth, they're introduced via email. He agrees to take the DNA test. And, of course, 99.99998% possibility of paternity versus, a random sampling of the other Caucasians running around America. So, boom, I'm 39 years old. This gal is 47. My whole life, all I've wanted was an older sibling, and one was there the whole time. 47 years old. So that's pretty cool.
I think
got
so.
A sister.
Do you feel, I mean, I know you're not somebody to linger in the past from our conversations, but do you feel like maybe you've missed out on some stuff now because you weren't around when she was there to pick on you and give you a hard time since you were the oldest?
No. I'll tell you why. Because her mother's not my mother. If my dad had known, I really think in my heart of hearts, knowing what I know about my dad, his father wasn't there. His father was, I'll spare you all the family details, but let's just say his father was loving life in the Canal Zone, and at my grandmother's urging, returned to the United States. Their marriage never survived it. He was never as content and as happy and as prosperous as he was when he had things, rolling down in the Canal Zone. Mm-hmm. Consequently, he was never around for my father when my dad was around. He was there paying the rent, and then their marriage crumbled, and then he was just kind of never around. He always had dreams that never came to fruition. My dad was always there, coaching baseball, helping me with the projects, making me go get a dictionary when I didn't know a word instead of just, I don't know, or telling me what it meant. He was always there. He was such a good dad because of his dad's relative absence. And I know my father would have at least offered to help this gal raise, because she was frankly beautiful, by the way. He would have tried. I know he would have tried because it's the right thing to do, and he's that kind of guy. I wouldn't have been here. He never would have met my mother 6 or 7 years later. I wouldn't have my son. I wouldn't have my brothers. I wouldn't have my nieces and nephews. So I don't miss it because of that. I just love this beautiful little wrinkle that life has given us. When I saw her picture, John, when she sent me the picture, I said, ha, wow, that's Dad. You know, there's no way. It looked just. I knew when I saw that picture. So I do regret it in the sense that I didn't have that person. But you know, my parents were both great parents. Unfortunately, they got a divorce a few years ago when they were just after 30-something years of marriage. It didn't work out. I wouldn't be having this conversation, John. So no, I think it's going to be interesting when I meet this woman to see what nurture doesn't take care of. What are the things that genetically are embedded in our code that I can recognize as being traits from my father or those that me and my brother share? You know, I think that'll be cool.
I think it'll be cool too. I think you're probably going to connect on a different level with this person, and you're going to be able to almost anticipate, you know, in a very short amount of time, anticipate what she's going to say, where she, you know, what she is thinking and stuff like that. Just because so much is dependent upon our genetic makeup. I mean, there's so much research out there, and I think you're going to be amazed. And you know, I'd love to be a part of that. I don't know if it would be possible, but that would be amazing to be there. And man, you have a glorious opportunity. You know, I know you love your family and everything else. Has this changed how you look at your own child?
I don't think so because, well, it might if I ever found out one day that I had another child. How about that? And these things could happen. But well, assuming I don't. But John, let's be honest. You know, even if we're not people who were incredibly promiscuous in life, many of us have had brief encounters, you know, whirlwind romances of, I don't know, a few hours.
Long-term 3-day relationship.
Right, or a 3-day relationship. So love takes many forms. I guess I've never really considered your question before because I kind of consider this, even though it's not separate, it is, because I just told him yesterday, I said, hey, would you be interested to know you have an aunt that you never knew about? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I would. And he said, what are you talking about? I said, well, it turns out Papa has a daughter he didn't know about. And my son's only 10. He said, how did that happen? I said, well, things happen, you know, that kind of deal. And he didn't know that this lady was pregnant, you know, and it's a long story short. So no, I don't think it has. I wish I could tell you something glorious, you know, that I have it all figured out. But look, the cosmos is fantastic. Being alive is fantastic. And that drive that this woman, Lisa, my half-sister, had, I know is shared by many people out there. And the thing that makes me happiest is that despite the absence of her natural parents, she was given a loving home. And that's the one thing that I and my father are most thankful for, that despite the fact that he couldn't be there, she really hit sort of a love jackpot and was reared by people who cared for her as her own. She identifies as one of them, and that's great. I'm so glad that those people exist, and I could only wish that outcome for every child who was either abandoned by, for whatever reason that might be. You know, praise be to God for that, for people like that. They're angels on earth.
Well, she was definitely blessed, even though the situations weren't perfect.
Yeah.
But you know, this show's about mental health, and my question is, what advice do you have to offer other people who maybe get approached? You know, maybe not all of them are as well known as you are, but what advice? I mean, I talked to you about my best friend and her situation. You know, it was you know, she's now has 2 families, and it's a beautiful thing, but it worked out well for her. What do you think others should do? Okay.
First thing you can do is trust your inner BS meter. And I think that sincerity and earnestness will be self-revealing. You don't give away any personal information. They have your contact, but what are they really going to get from an email unless they're a supercomputer hacker? Think of what you have to lose. Give people a chance. I can tell you that if it weren't for me reading the email a few times and recognizing that this might be a real person, and especially if maybe you're a generation that's a little bit older than mine who hasn't embraced all the technology, maybe you like your TiVo, maybe you like your email, but you're still stuck in 10, 15 years ago, and you can use tools. Get somebody to help you. Check Facebook. Look at all the records. There's a way to find out if people are who they say they are. It's not that difficult. I would say it's one of the positive side effects of living under, the rule of Big Mother and Big Data. It's actually pretty cool. You can find out a lot about people. So just listen a little bit. And if somebody's coming to you and saying, I think I'm related, I'm here to tell you, one encounter can lead to a life. We all know that, and it happens like millions of times. I think most of us fail to realize the law of large numbers. There's 7+ billion people on the planet.
Right.
Do you realize you have any conception on how many people and how many lives and how many days and nights and waking up and going to bed and jobs and relationships and coincidences that is? No, it's so much bigger than we can think. My name is Daniel French, not a real popular name. There's something crazy like a few thousand of us. I don't know any of them.
Mm-hmm.
Just in the United States of America. Think about that. And then if your name, for crying out loud, is Bob Smith, there must be 1 million of you. So anyway, that's what I would give. Listen, just listen. And you can see passion and earnestness and desire. This lady, when my dad told her, or when she found out it was real, the emotional catharsis was such that it rendered her unable to speak. She cried, she said, for like 12 straight hours. Can you imagine how much of a relief that must be to a human being? Pretty cool.
She knows where she's from. She knows.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean,
that's right.
That's so important for us as individuals.
Yeah. I think we always seek, we want to return to where we come.
Yes.
We really do.
Yes.
So, anyway.
We want that connection at the very least.
Yeah. I don't know if she's got a lot of money, though. That'd be pretty cool.
Well, I have a question. So what was
the
process? What was the process like? I mean, I know because I've talked to some of my physician friends, and they're all like, what they draw blood? And my understanding is just a swab in the cheek, and go on about your day.
They send you. Of course, I didn't submit the sample. My father did, but what he tells me, they just send you these 4 little tubes with something akin to a Q-tip in it. It's not whatever the medical relative of a Q-tip is, and it's simple as that. Swab, seal it back, put it in its container. Swab 4 of them, and you mail it back. My father is the one who identified the service that would do it. He actually talked to an attorney ahead of time, just in case. Look, if this is my daughter's.
That was my questions.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll finish the swabs. Anyway, you send it back, and they can. All they tell you is they email each person the results. The other person doesn't take possession of your precious bodily fluids or anything. You don't have to worry about that. And,
no
that
cloning.
you end up. No, exactly. No cloning or anything. Supposedly, I mean, I can only assume these businesses care about their integrity, right? So they have an interest in that people maintaining their privacy, and they do the results. And they sent a kit to my father in Florida, this gal and my sister in California, and then they do the business, and then they tell you the results. It's really easy. So
good, yeah, and that's painless. My understanding. Painless. do you have an idea what it costs to run that kind of testing? If somebody's looking for that, I mean,
I wish I had looked into that. But you know what I'll do? If you have another question, that I will text my father, and in the meantime, I will get it. But I want to say it's just a couple of $100, and that's really just a guess. I don't know exactly.
Well, I know some of the DNA testing for which psychotropic medications are best for you and whatever medical condition you have. Those are around $300. So I don't imagine it would be too much more than that, except they're doing 2 instead of just 1 analysis, whatever.
Yeah.
So you started to go there with, the first thing I'm thinking of course, I'm a forensic psychologist, is, geez, I need to lawyer up. So. Yeah. You started to go there and tell me about your dad. So tell me about what his thoughts were and what the reaction was from the attorneys and stuff.
Yeah, well, he did seek out a lawyer, and he just wondered, look, is there any liability for me, having put? And he said probably not, but is there any liability for me having not been around, having had this relationship? Is there any financial liability that I may have? If this lady has debts, I'm her father, am I on the hook for them? Does she have any? When I die, does that affect any inheritance that my 3 boys will be, could receive? Any of that stuff. And apparently what he tells me, the answer is, especially after 40-something years having elapsed, no liability whatsoever. I mean, this person has gone through life. They've been a minor under somebody else's what am I looking for? Guardianship. They're already an adult. No, there's absolutely none whatsoever. You're just two people at this point who happen to share the same DNA. There was nothing to worry about. Now, if you start now, you could change. If you start inserting people in your will, something like that. But at this point, you're considered, I guess, cleaved as far as the law is concerned from that point, and not of the same family, so nothing to worry about.
That's good. And then, you mentioned she does this DNA stuff for a living, so I'm glad you said your dad picked the place because we don't know what kind of relationship she has or had with any particular DNA lab, and I'm glad you said that, and we didn't talk about that before. But that's definitely something to be concerned with. Do you have anything you're looking forward to, like Christmas or holidays or anything like that?
Well, we haven't set a date to meet or anything like that yet. And I will say there was a point before I found out whether or not we were related where because I was emotionally taxed giving this so much thought. What if this person is a fraud? What if I'm not smart enough to figure out what the angle is here on that thing? And then I got to the point where I was like, I'm going to be so disappointed if Lisa is not my sister that I don't know where I would go from there. I would feel so emotionally manipulated. So it's very strange. Ever since I found out, I'm not over the moon or anything. I'm excited. I'm glad. But what do I do at this point? Because I haven't had the proximity, that love by association that I have with my brothers, that I have with my father. And I know that I will have that that shared feeling of understanding, from whence we came. And I know I can get on board with that. So we will do it when the time is right, hopefully sooner than later. She lives out in a beautiful part of California. Her husband's a chef, too. I can't wait to see what he can cook up. So all of that good stuff. Yes, I haven't done it. I just learned the other day, a couple of days ago, I haven't even spoken with her yet, but we've been texting a lot.
Okay.
And I do plan on calling her, and I want to talk. But honestly, it's kind of like if you have a dream love, romantic love in your mind,
right?
And then or of somebody you have a crush on, and then actually meet them. It's not going to be the same, right? So we'll meet. I assume she would want to come. She didn't know there was a beach in Chicago, and she's a pretty smart girl. So I mean, they're cool. So that's cool. I want to show you this city. This city's amazing, and I want to go out there, and I want my son to meet her and my wife to meet her, and she seems like a really cool person, and I'm glad of that because my father is really cool, and I love him immensely. And I want them to meet first almost because I'm peripheral to all of this. You know what I mean?
I think that should happen. I do.
Me too.
I think that should happen kind of in that order too. We talked about this, before we came on the air here on my show, and you told me a story about a dream. Now, the dream is you can tell them that dream if you want. I'm not going to do that, but as you were telling me that dream, the goosebumps got on the back of my neck and all that, and I'm thinking, gosh, Daniel, there's got to be that 10-year-old boy inside of you right now that is just bursting at the seams and excited.
Yeah. Before I move on, my dad just texted me, that kit, $139. That included the lab fee. That's nothing. But
wow, that is nothing.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, most people are paying more for that in cable a month, so I think it's probably worth it to find out the truth about genetics. Okay.
Well, you're paying more than that for an hour of talking to me, so.
Oh, dude, with you, that didn't even get 10 minutes. No, friends, look, your insurance carrier can help you. You should go see John Huber. Really, you should. They'll be on board. All right. I did have a dream. I was older than 10, but I know what you're saying because But I was younger. I don't know if I was a teen. I don't know if I was in college, but I was younger. And I'll tell you another dream that I had about my dad another time. But the dream I had was me and my father getting in an argument, and I might have even been in my mid-20s or late 20s, and my parents were going through some problems. And I had a dream that I had a massive argument with my father, and he had been having a romance with a younger woman and had a child with the younger woman. And in this dream, I was furious with him that he could do this to my mother. And how could you ever love somebody besides mom? And he says, when you get older in the dream, if when you get older, you'll understand. that when you're a kid, you think that there's only one possible perfect mate for you. Mm-hmm. But when you get older, you'll really, truly begin to find out and to see that you can love many different people. And it's okay if you have children with other people. There's nothing to be angry about with me. You'll see one day. And I woke up thinking, wow, that's a weird dream. How could it be that that young girl, first of all, wanted to sleep with my dad? How could that dirty SOB want to be with the younger woman? And then they have a child together. And I just shook it off, thinking it must be some of the pressures of knowing that he and my mother were fighting, or, were there any suspicions of infidelity and this and that. And then here I am many years later. It turns out he did have a relationship. This gal was like, I think 16 when he would have been 19. But that's pretty perfectly normal.
Limitations are that not there, but at that point in American history, the laws to statutory rape were not like they are today, so it's not
right. And I think in Florida at that time, 16 was the age of consent anyway. But she apparently had told him that she was 17 or 18. She was a girl, off the reservation from her home Bible-beating parents in Alabama, and she was, hey, look, you get that feeling. I've told, when I was younger, I told her older girls I was older. I'm not going to lie. So that dream was pretty cool. It turned out to be true. It was just, it was seriously removed from my timeline,
Definitely. But, it's funny how the universe kind of sends us hints. So we should pay attention to our dreams and what's going on with us psychically.
I think
psychologically.
For sure.
Well, Daniel, this is pretty amazing. Where can my listeners, if they want to go and check out your show or get any information on you, where can they go?
You can find me on SoundCloud, Daniel French. That's one place. And you can certainly find me on Facebook at French and Friends. Just search that. Or if you want to tune into WCGO, 1590WCGO.com, any of those places. Happy to have you, and let's patrol this universe together and make observations and laugh once in a while and figure out what it's all about, because it's about, life, love, and pretty much realizing we're going to get screwed by whoever's in the White House or Congress. We can go ahead and accept that as a universal truth, too.
That is so true, Daniel. Well, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing this. I think this is an amazing time for you, and I'm blessed to be a part of it. But thank you so much, and that concludes our show today. I wish I could talk another hour or two on this, because there's a lot of things my mind is going at. So everyone, that's today's edition of Mainstream Mental Health Radio. Special thanks to Daniel French. And to learn more about our show, come visit us at mainstreammentalhealth.org. And remember, life is what happens while you're making plans, so buckle up.
Thanks for listening to Mainstream Mental Health Radio with your host, Dr. John Huber. Check us out on social media, Google+, Mainstream Mental Health, Instagram at Mainstream Mental Health, Twitter at Mainstream MENTL, and search for Mainstream Mental Health on Facebook. Please tune in every week to Mainstream Mental Health Radio with your host, Dr. John Huber.
.com.